It's a wrap. My first Olympic distance triathlon is in the books. Well, race morning started fairly early with packing up my bike into the car, making everything ready. Obviously, the 2 days prior to the triathlon, I started carb loading. I put my gear together the night before, starting with the wetsuit, the tri-suit. Then we've got the swim equipment, the goggles, anti-fog spray, a bit of nutrition, my Garmin watch, running shoes, cycle shoes. Then, once the bike was in the car, we made our way to the triathlon spot. I arrived with around 90 minutes to spare, which I thought would be plenty of time, but I was wrong. The first thing that I had to do was picking up my race number and my timing chip. But I quickly realized that the queue I was in wouldn't move, so something was holding off, and it took me around 50 to 60 minutes just to get my race pack. Then I had to make my way to the transition zone, where I had to pass another couple of security guards. Once I arrived there, I got really nervous because I was constantly checking my watch, and I knew I only had about 20 minutes left at that stage, and I haven't even set up my transition zone. I found a spot, I hung up my bike, I laid out my towel, and I put my shoes in place for the bike ride, for the run. I put my gels there, I put the socks in the shoes, and I just hoped everything was fine, because I was so stressed and it was my first time doing it and didn't know if this is the correct way. And then I realized I didn't bring water. I didn't have water for the whole bike ride essentially, but later more. Then once everything was set up, I looked again at my watch and realized I've got 10 minutes left, and I didn't even have my tri-suit on, I didn't have my wetsuit on, and there was a mandatory briefing that I had to attend 10 minutes before the race. So this one was just about to start, so I was rushing from the transition zone back to the spot where the triathlon started. While the briefing was going on, I started changing, put on the tri-suit, had a quick gel. I didn't even have time to warm up. I had my elastic band with me where I just did a few of those movements just to make sure I'm not so rusty. And just before I knew it, the whistle was going off and off I went to the water. I let a few people pass in front of me because I was so overwhelmed by the whole situation. I literally just put on my goggles and I had to go in. The first meters, absolute chaos. It was super hectic, arms flying around, I had feet in my face, I had to readjust my goggles a few times because it was coming off. I was fairly disoriented in the beginning, but I just tried to slow myself down a little bit. So what I did was I was just swimming as far left as I could, and that worked out. So I had no one in front of me, I had a few people next to me, but I just could do my swim. I did my rhythm. A couple of times I had to go up to see how far I am, because we were swimming in a triangle, so I had to make sure I'm cutting the corners in the correct way. But I did the swim in 27 minutes, which is great, far better than I expected it to be. Then eventually I made it to the finish of the swim. I got out of the water and I was feeling like in a really strong runner's high. I saw my family there, just passed them, and I was going through my head, okay, what do I have to do now? I have to remove first the goggles and then the swimming cap, because I put the goggles on top of it. Then, while I was running, I was removing my earplugs, I took off my watch, I slowly started peeling off my wetsuit, and it was going very well. Then I hopped on the bike, and like I said, I didn't bring any water, but gladly enough, my cousin handed me a bottle of water while I was on the bike. So he left it there. I took it and tried to rack it on my bike, but I kept slipping away and I was fumbling a little bit and got it somehow on the wrong side of the track and almost crashed into someone who was doing the loop from the other side. And he was looking at me and screaming like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oops, sorry." So that was a fairly hectic start as well. There was quite a bit of wind towards one side of the loop, so we had two 20-kilometer loops to do. The bike ride was definitely one of my strongest disciplines. I finished the biking part within 1 hour and 15 minutes. Then, once the bike ride was over, I entered T2. So I got off the bike, ran into transition zone, and at this stage, a couple of friends of mine and my wife were also around the fence. And just coming into the transition zone, I was super disoriented again. I couldn't remember where my spot was. I just knew in which corner I was, but I didn't remember where exactly I left my shoes. So I racked my bike on, and then I was there standing, looking at the ground, looking at the shoes, and I was like, fuck, what do I do? I can't find my shoes. And then my wife screamed and said, there, just in front of you. So I looked down, and there they were, my shoes. A big relief. So I swapped the shoes, put again a couple of gels with me, and off I went for the run. The run, I would say, was always my strongest discipline. I wanted to run a 5 to a 5:30 pace to definitely complete the 10 kilometers under 60 minutes, which I ultimately did. Obviously, the first kilometers felt like I was running on wooden sticks, but again, once you find your rhythm, your legs, they loosen up a little bit and you're again in your line. And that's what I did. I just moved on step by step. It was a 5-kilometer loop twice, had a couple of gels, and then finally crossing that finish line. It was a big relief. The stress, the hectic, the fatigue, everything just left my body at that stage. And I have to say, I actually feel that a marathon was more challenging than a triathlon. I would like to know if any of you guys have done both. What do you think? That's obviously just my opinion, but I felt like a marathon was way more stressful on my body. But yeah, 2 hour 47 triathlon, super happy. Now I'm moving on to my next goal. Let's see what that's gonna be. But if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, because there will be more videos to come all around hybrid training, whether it's triathlon, marathon, gym. I will keep you posted what's next. So with that being said, have a good day and bye bye.